Hi guys, I'm Judy Elmore and I'm a freelance editor with Black Wolf Editorial Services. We have been discussing what editing is about, the various different stages of editing, and some of the tricks that I use myself within my own editing and that of clients. Today we're going to talk about show versus tell. We're going to talk about what actually is show and how it works and when to use it and when it might actually be better to just use tell. So let's get started. So what actually is show? Well, it's the difference between telling a reader how a character feels and what they are doing versus describing the added details that allow a reader to come to their own conclusions. I'll give you an example. She was sad. Okay, that's nice. But let's build a picture. Her shoulders drooped and tears glistened on her cheeks. You don't necessarily know what she's sad about, but you get this impression that maybe she was crying. Here's another example. Let's take this picture here of this woman standing in the rain. The tell could be something along the lines of, she stood in the rain getting soaked through. She was cold. Yeah, okay. Let's just add a little more to it. Her hair matted against her forehead and droplets dripped from her chin. Her clothes clung to her. She scowled as she shivered from the chill. Yeah, okay, you don't totally get the impression that she was standing in the rain. She could have just gotten wet because she got hit by a sprinkler. But I think you're starting to see the pattern. Here's another example. One that's a bit more what I see as it comes across my desk. It was raining as I sat at the window drinking my tea. The tea helped to ward off the chill in my bones. The weather this time of year always made me feel cold and empty. I hated the gray, overcast sky. Yeah, okay, it works, but let's make it something more. The rain hammered against the window, lightning cracked and thunder rumbled. No matter how strong the sun was, it was never going to burn through the sheet of gray. I scowled as I shivered, struggling to pick up the steaming mug of tea. Why couldn't it be summer now? Show has got some advantages to them. One of the things is that it does add word counts. Now, that could be a disadvantage too. It depends on whether you write heavy or word light. But more importantly, and this is why we use it, is because it adds insight into a character and the settings. It allows us to perceive the world the way the character does. It draws the reader in and allows us to become part of the world. Now, not everything is meant to use show. Because sometimes that added word count is actually a problem and we need to get rid of words. So the fact that show adds word count can be a disadvantage. If show is not well executed, your reader can get lost, not quite certain where their attention needs to be put. In addition, it can come across as a series of stage directions. He moved over to the door. He unlocked the door. He took the door to the handle. Yeah, no, we don't need that level of detail. That can be a little bit much. And if you're not careful, purple prose can show up in your manuscript. Purple prose, for those who are not familiar with the term, is overly ornate prose. So an example would be from Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. His skin, white despite the faint flush from yesterday's hunting trip, literally sparkled like thousands of tiny diamonds were embedded into the surface. He lay perfectly still in the glass, his shirt open, his sculpted incandescent chest, his scintillating arms bare. Yeah, I think there's a word missing there, but that's okay. When I read that passage, I see so many times that we're talking about sparkly vampires. Yeah, we have sparkling, we have diamonds, we have incandescent, we have scintillating. Yeah, I think we get the hint. He was a sparkly vampire. Sometimes tell is better. One of those instances will be if you're riding through the countryside from Oxford to Cambridge. Unless something interesting and relevant actually happens during that trip, we don't need to know the details. We just need to know that you went there and that was it. Maybe you want to show the passage of time in a short space. Here's an example. The days fell into an uncomfortable routine. I'd get up, have my breakfast, and stare at the phone, willing it to ring. For 3 days, I waited for him to call. We know straight away that she's been staring there desperate for this phone call from this random guy. You might use tell in dialogue when a character is summarizing past events and is telling others about the events. Or you might use it in the narrative itself when you are giving a brief recap of things that have happened earlier in the book but are now showing relevant to later chapters. Finding the balance between show versus tell is not easy, and this is something that I think a lot of people actually struggle with. I know I do sometimes, and I know a lot of others do as well. Some general guidelines, and trust me, they are not hard, fast rules. If it's something that's important that you want the reader to focus on, show it. If it's emotionally invoking, give the reactions that the character has. Are they details that you're foreshadowing? Little specific details. Is it an important character that you've just introduced? Show us. Or, for that matter, has that detail already been presented? Well, then tell it. We don't need it shown again, unless there's some other reason why you're doing it. Are your readers getting lost on all of the added details that you've added in? Is your narrative dragging? Then perhaps you may want to compress it down and use tell instead of show. And if you are writing something in the fashion of Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, and Hobbit, learn to use that balance between show versus tell, because it can be too much. Do make sure that you understand your genre expectations too, because not all genres want show. Some of them expect more tell than show. Case in point, crime noir. Noir in itself is a very specific way of writing, and it is very telly in the way it does its narrative. Saying that though, just because the genre expects tell doesn't mean you can't show them the world. I'll give you an example. This passage is a tell passage, but it does show the world. The decision to lift off from an MSH was made by Major Manchek, who was concerned about the attention the suits might draw, because inside the helicopter were 3 men, a pilot and 2 scientists, and all 3 wore clear plastic inflatable suits, making them look like obese men from Mars, or as one of the hangar maintenance men put it, like balloons from a Macy parade. Yeah, that's a very tell statement, but we have a very good picture of what those men in that suit were wearing. And if anybody's interested, you'll know it. It's Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. There are some very good resources out there to help you as a writer develop show. I adore this series, the Thesaurus series by Angela Ackerman and Becca Puglisi. I apologize if I haven't said her name right. It is a very difficult name to say. Their website, writershelpingwriters.net, is filled with all of these examples about how you can show what your characters are doing, or the settings, or various different things. It's what they specialize in, and it's very good website. It's a fantastic resource. This particular series, there are 7 books currently in the series. 6 of them are available in print, and 1 is digital only. However, you can get the PDF of this book from their website. And as you can see in that photograph, that 7th one, which is the emotion amplifiers, I have the PDF version, and I printed it out and then spiral bound it so I could actually have it on my shelf along with all the rest of the books. And yes, these are my books. You can see my little tabs. I use them all the time. In the next video, we're going to talk about some more tricks that I use within editing, the tricks that I use within my own personal writing and with that of my clients' work. We're going to talk about the was edit, the said edit, and of course, crutch words. That video should be available in the next couple of days. In the meantime, if you have any questions about today's topic, please feel free to ask your questions down in the comments down below. I will be taking a look and answering all questions. Alternatively, you can find me on Twitter, and that's at blackwolf_ed, or you can find me on Facebook, and that's Black Wolf Editorial, or you can check out my website, and that's blackwolfeditorial.com. If you are interested in my personal projects, please feel free to check me out on Twitter, and that's at Judy L. Moore, or check out my website, and that's judylmoore.com. Meanwhile, I look forward to helping you take your writing to the next level.